What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and welcome to my annual desk setup tour, where I show you guys how I have my personal desk setup laid out for video editing, productivity, and just like the day-to-day basis of the tech products that I use, some of the accessories that I have, and just all of the different pieces of the workflow that come together. So similar to my 2022 home tech tour, this is actually going to be the last desk setup tour in this space. And I'm actually in the main bedroom of my condo because I'm gonna be moving in a couple months and building a completely new setup. And I'm really excited to show you guys some of the areas that are a little bit different, as well as a lot of the similarities that are going to be carried over, because this is a setup that I've worked on for many years now, and I'm relatively happy with it, to be honest. As always, if you'd like to win an item from this video, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, drop a thumbs up on this video, and leave a comment down below as to what your favorite touch is of this setup. And also leave your Instagram username as well, because I'll be picking a winner in 1 month. So let's just get started with the desk. This is one that I worked on at the start of the pandemic, and it's one that we put together in a very custom format. I used to have 3 different desks in this office, and I found that the main one was just very cluttered, and I wanted to re-optimize that, especially after we purchased a dedicated office space to have multiple workspaces for the rest of the team. The idea that I landed on was to have a standing desk in an L-shaped format that had a ton of storage. And because I already had this desk from Bo Concept, I figured it'd be a good way to reuse it and just purchase an L-shaped frame from Uplift that was commercial grade and was able to support the weight of this relatively heavy desk. But then on the L return, actually go with a 2-tone color format, which was walnut, and it's actually a Carlby countertop from IKEA. It's available in a few different finishes, including walnut, as well as an oak, and I believe they have another color as well now. But just getting creative with countertops gives you a good level of durability while also adding some color, and so I feel like it's an idea that a lot of you guys should definitely try if you have the space to. This entire desk is actually able to go up and down, and so if you want to use it as a standing desk, you can, but admittingly, in the past couple years, I've really only used it in the standing format 1 or 2 times. Another piece of furniture that I also added a little bit afterwards is a CB2 cabinet over on the right side, and that is the backdrop that you guys see in the videos, and it is just a good way to have some display items on the ladder shelves while also having quite a bit of storage below, and I think it fills in that gap very nicely while also matching the Carlby finish. So if you're thinking of getting the walnut desk and also the walnut furniture, just know that it does match together pretty nicely. And also behind me that you guys have been asking in the video is where I picked up the posters from, and they're all from the Automobilist, which is just various car posters. I know they have some Formula 1, some 24 Hours Le Mans, and so I just kind of have a variety of those throughout the office space and the home office. So when it comes to the core tech of the desk setup, the first thing that you'll notice is the dual XDR displays from Apple. And these are displays that for 99.9% of computer users out there just don't really make any sense. They are overkill, they're relatively expensive as well, but for what I do when it comes to color grading YouTube videos and also color grading hundreds of pieces of footage on a relatively daily basis and also producing 100 videos a year on YouTube, I find that I have gotten very good use out of these displays because the colors are very accurate, and it's just a good way to have a reference monitor when it comes to dealing with color. And for anyone who is in professional and commercial photography or videography, then you can probably find a justification for a monitor of this price. With that being said though, there are other options out there that are a fraction of the cost, and with calibration can actually get relatively close within the level of diminishing return. And Apple also has their new studio displays now, which came out many years after this, and if you can find one in stock, is a really good option as well if you don't need the HDR capabilities or its max brightness. Another product that I feel like is really underrated is a ScreenBar. So when I'm editing in the evening, you can't really see what is on the keyboard if you don't have a backlit keyboard, but just in general, you don't want to just be staring right into your display. So having some ambient or offset lighting is very important, and that is the BenQ ScreenBar. It is really simple in its concept. It mounts on the top of the monitor, and it comes with a dial that allows you to just turn it on or off and also adjust the brightness and the color balance. You can also have it set to like an automatic mode, but this is definitely a more expensive option and the top line. But I've seen options for $20 on Amazon that are still able to get the job done. So it really comes down to what you need. But in my scenario, if I'm just doing general work, then I usually have a warmer light, so it puts less strain on the eyes. But when it comes to video editing, I usually have a cooler light setting. That way my eyes are neutralized and I can reference the colors on the screen effectively. I've also tried blue light glasses from Bailey Nelson in the past, and the reason why I like that model model specifically is because it doesn't have a tint, which is again important when it comes to doing photo and video editing, where you have to have a good representation of the color. So I think that's a good tip for a product to have on your desk. Another really cool piece of technology that you can also add to your desk is a water filter. And this is one from a company that I'm sure you guys have heard of, and that is LARQ, and I want to give a huge thanks to them for sponsoring this video. They're very well known for their water bottles that have the UV light technology, and they've been extremely popular, and I'm really excited to check one out. The perfect use case for this water pitcher is I'm someone who likes to sit at my desk for like most of the day, and I don't really want to get up. But of course, it's important to drink water and stay hydrated because that is just what you need to do. So to have a nice pitcher of filtered water next to me while I'm working is really important, and this right here is the LARQ Purvis pitcher with advanced filter. It isn't just any traditional water filter because it actually has a two-stage process. You have the advanced filter itself, which has the nano zero filtration tech behind it that was developed for heavy-duty applications such as oil spill and wastewater, and the activated carbon traps contaminants and VOCs. These LARQ filters last up to 50% longer than leading brands and filtering 60 gallons of water before the next replacement. On top of that though, from the tech element, you can actually connect this over to the LARQ app, and it will actually track your filter health as well as your water quality to give you information that is important in knowing when to switch the filter for optimal results. Beyond the filtration, it also provides purification through its Purvis technology, which is what's most interesting about LARQ and how it utilizes UV light to be able to purify the water and also clean the bottle. This UVC light technology neutralizes bacteria and viruses and focuses on removing pollutants from the water. This process eradicates 99.9999% of bacteria and gives you clean water anywhere. And the self-cleaning actually activates every 2 hours, basking the water and also the inner areas of the bottle. So if you guys want to go ahead and check out the LARQ Purvis pitcher with advanced filter, I'm going to leave a link down below, and a huge thanks to them once again for sponsoring this video. So when it comes to the computer setup right now, I have the Apple Mac Pro 2019. I bought it during the pre-order process and I spec'd it out to, I believe, 16 cores, and I've also added some storage internally as well as GPUs over the years, and this thing has been able to churn out like 300 or 400 videos, and in some workflows it is relatively fast, and in others I would have liked it to be a little bit faster, but generally speaking it has been a powerhouse, and the reason why I've stuck to it is just the amount of ports, the customizability, and all the parts that I have invested into it right now. With that being said, the Apple MacBook Pro 14-inch with the M1 Max processor is faster than this computer. I've used it for color grading, for video editing, and it is just the future. And even though the Mac Studio is an option to switch to for a professional workflow, I'm personally waiting for the next generation of Mac Pro because the Mac Studio is still not very customizable, and I'm just too lazy to switch over the entire workflow. When it comes to the accessories and peripherals, the first thing is the IKEA desk mat. This thing was like $30 and I have it in all of my setups, and I find that it is a really good mat because it has this nice sill on the front and it always stays in place. The only problem that I've kind of noticed with it is that because of its metal surface, iPads and certain tech products just get stuck on it relatively easily, so I might switch over to the Orbit Key, which also has that cable channel on the back, so I could have my iPhone charging cable as well as a USB-C cable easily accessible. But if you're looking for like the perfect desk mat, honestly this one has been really good for writing and also for any desk setup, and it just fits the size of this desk perfectly. The keyboards that I've currently been jumping around with are the Apple Magic Keyboard, which I've used for many years, as well as the Logitech MX Mechanical and the Keychron K6. I love the way the MX Mechanical types, I love the way the Keychron K6 looks, but I'm also very used to the Apple Magic Keyboard because I also use it on my MacBook. But one thing that has never been changed on my desk setup since the start of YouTube is the Logitech MX line of mouse. This right here is the latest generation of the MX Master 3S mouse, and it is just perfect. The ergonomics are great, the battery life is great. It also has like a very silent click now, which to be honest is one that I'm still trying to figure out if I like, but the scrolling capabilities and the tracking is just really good, and the horizontal scrolling is something that every video editor needs to be able to navigate the timeline really quickly. Logitech has definitely built out their ecosystem really nicely over the past few years with Logitech Options and being able to customize different keys, even in a productivity workflow. So yeah, I just can't say enough good things about this, and I personally went with the graphite color because when I had the white one, it just got dirty really quickly. The other product that always lives on my desk that is very specific to my industry is the color grading panel. It's the Blackmagic one for DaVinci Resolve, and when it comes to grading all of our footage, the way our workflow works is the following. So whenever the footage comes out of the SD card, the first thing I do is I transfer it onto a fast NVMe drive internally on the computer. From there, I drag the footage into DaVinci Resolve, and that is where I process the flat log footage or raw footage from the red into Rec 709, which is the color space that you guys see. I just go ahead and process each clip, and from adjusting the highlights, the shadows, the white balance, saturation, and masking, it is just a lot faster with a color grading panel, and I can just like watch TV while I'm like navigating through each clip. And as all those clips are processed, I then export them out into Apple ProRes, which is what the editing software Final Cut Pro 10 likes. From there, I create libraries within my RAID drives, which is important because these RAID drives have a redundancy. So in the event of one of the drives failing, the data is not corrupted because I can just swap out the drive and everything on there is safe. And so when you have important editing projects with your exported footage, you want to make sure it is on a drive that is either backed up or using a RAID 0 setup. As for the audio setup, the one that I use at the moment is the Rode NT microphone. It's the XLR model, and I've used this as my main voiceover microphone for I think 3 or 4 years now. It is not the most expensive one on the market, but I find that it suits the tone and the voice that I'm going for relatively nicely, with a nice punch to it that doesn't sound too radio-like, but it's just the option that I've gone with. And when it comes to the preamps, I've tried the Apollo, and I also use the Mix Pre, which is probably the best preamp that I've used to date when it comes to the wireless and also USB computer setup. It definitely isn't the prettiest compared to the Apollo, but sometimes it's just a really easy system that I bring with me on all travel. So in terms of what is on the monitors, I use the Logitech Brio 4K webcam. It was one of the first 4K webcams that came out on the market, and I think it's just a really solid option. At the end of the day, a webcam is a webcam, and even though you can use your iPhone nowadays, I always want to have my iPhone near me, and so I don't really want to use it as a webcam camera. And for the most part, for the calls that we go on, the webcam quality doesn't really matter, but this is a model that just mounts on top of the XDR display. It looks very seamless, and it delivers great quality when we need it. It does have autofocus. You can control the settings within the Logitech app, which I definitely recommend, but it's just a very solid and seamless looking one. So if you're willing to spend the money, there's that, and there's also the one from Insta360, which looks pretty cool, but I haven't had the chance to check that out just yet, but it is very expensive in terms of the aspects of utility that most people need relative to the cost of what you're looking to spend on something for conference calls. So when it comes to the new speakers that I've added to my desk, these are the Totem Acoustic Kinplay Slims. I used to have the KEF LSX, which were some great speakers, but they just really weren't made for a computer speaker setup, in my opinion, and they just like stopped working one day, which is kind of unfortunate because they were quite expensive. In terms of the best overall value for a good speaker at a pretty good price for any like computer or desk setup, my recommendation is still the Audio Engine A2 Plus. Kanto does make some good products as well, but I just found the audio engines to always be very impressive. But if you just need a little bit more power or just want that next level up and are willing to pay for it, then something like the Totem Acoustic can be a good option to look at. I really like it in the satin white color, but the way I have it set up is through the RCA to the Dragonfly that goes into the USB of the computer. And from there, I'm able to control it using the remote to adjust the volume, the input, and I can also stream music to it wirelessly. But just in terms of enjoying music and the sound quality itself, I've always been really happy with products from Totem Acoustic. I have them in my soundbar setup as well as a tower at the office. And it's actually a Canadian company as well, which is cool. So these are actually cheaper than the KEF LSX, and I would say they're relatively comparable when it comes to the wired functions. Another very important accessory that I use is the Thunderbolt Dock. This right here is a Thunderbolt 3 dock from Belkin, and although they have a Thunderbolt 4 dock, the Mac Pro that I have only supports up to Thunderbolt 3, so that is what I use at the moment. It gives me an SD card slot on the front as well as USB ports, and also have other accessories that are connected to it, but having access to ports not only when it comes to charging but also data on your desktop is a good way to just add some convenient elements to your setup. In addition to that, I also have power outlets in various places, as well as fast charging cables, and there's also a wireless charging stand that I use, and the one that I have at the moment is from Native Union. It is really simple, it uses the MagSafe on the back, and even though it isn't the fastest method of charging, it's just nice to have displayed in front of you, and there's also a little dock on the bottom for AirPods to charge as well. So these are accessories that I just like to have at the desk because sometimes I want my phone charged right away, or in other scenarios, I'll just have it on the wireless charging stand to be able to take a look at any notifications or even during a conference call. A few other small stylistic accessories include accessories from GroveMade, which I have for like different tripod and SD card pieces, and also from Ugmonk, which is the notepad that I'm trying to use a little bit more to keep track of productivity and tasks lists. These are ways that you can kind of dress up your desk and add a bit of personality with it, but I always try to declutter as much as possible because there's just so much stuff on here on an everyday basis, but you guys don't see that because we're filming right now. From a storage standpoint, even though we're gonna talk a bit more about the RAID setup that I use a little bit later, one of my favorite new products comes from SanDisk. They have a dock that allows you to have different types of card readers, including the red card reader. There's also CFast, SD card, and all that. So to have all of that at its maximum speed on one enclosed dock that looks super industrial is just such a game changer for video creators out there. And in addition to that, they've also launched their new Pro Blade setup that includes these small, super fast SSDs that go up to 4 terabytes. And you're able to use it at your desktop with the dock that has 4 different slots for all of your drives, but also take it on the go on a transporter and give you great read and write speeds with tons of durability and just reliability in general. So I think you guys are kind of seeing the trend here. I'm on the road a ton, on about 100 flights a year, and so being able to have an effective workflow that is able to be a very comfortable place to edit at speed at home while being able to just take it on the go and have that same workflow is very, very important to me. Of course, some of the other areas around my desk setup are also very important to me. One of the ones that I've talked about for many years now is my projector. I have a projector behind me, which is one from BenQ, and that displays a 4K image onto the wall right there. And the reason why I didn't want to put a TV there is simply because it would look really terrible. This room is not like that big. I feel like it looks a lot bigger on YouTube, but being able to have a large 100-inch projection onto that screen while watching Formula One or hockey while editing just makes it a lot easier, and it's something that I'm always looking forward to using. I also have a Sonos soundbar that is hooked up on that side to give good amount of sound, and I can also stream music to it, but I feel like this desk setup for like a main home setup is a relatively good use of the space that there is in a room that is about 11 feet by 11 feet. When it comes to the cable management setup, this desk is actually very well optimized because it has a ton of hollow elements. There's a channel that goes all the way along the back, as well as 2 exposed areas on each side of the desk, and that is something that I really haven't seen before, and a huge reason why I stuck to this desk even after I was taking everything down. I'm able to have the speaker wires channel into each side of the desk and have all of the slack tied up and hidden away. And whenever I want to make a modification, I just have to go ahead and open up this little compartment right here, and I can reorganize everything that is needed. This standing desk also has 2 sets of power bars, so I can have everything plugged in, wired in, and all of that slack is hidden away. So even though it does come in at quite a cost, this Bow Concept option, it is one that has been really practical and I've gotten my use out of it. Another small accessory that I've also added to my home office is a Vitruvi essential oil diffuser. This is something that I've seen around a lot, and I've had like similar products before, such as the Aromatech and also the one that I picked up from a hotel that I enjoyed staying at. And so I kind of like to have those around the house, but the Vitruvi one is just one that I was very curious about, and so far it's been a pretty good product. It's relatively small, and I got it in the gray ceramic. It's pretty well built, and all you have to do is fill it up to the water line and drop 20 to 30 drops of your favorite essential oil. And even though I am still trying to test out which one I like the most, the cedarwood one I think smells pretty good. And so having that in a space that you spend a lot of time in can be really beneficial. So that paired with the LARQ, for example, are just a few different tech accessories that are a little bit outside of the box of like what you would expect out of a tech setup, where it's like wireless chargers, docks, storage, and all that kind of stuff. But I've been trying to add more of the home elements to all aspects of my house because I've kind of realized that all I want to do when I'm at home is work. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video of my 2022 personal desk setup. And yeah, I feel like there's been some good refinements, but over the past few years, it's kind of trended towards a productivity and video focus instead of being like that fun desk setup that you guys saw when I was growing up. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.